You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. So, firstly, thank you very much for joining us. If you could just introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself to get us started, that'd be really, really good.
My name is Patrick McKeown and I live in Ireland, but I travel a lot internationally, and my field of work is in breathing exercises that are related to improving sleep and athletic performance. I've written 8 books. I've trained practitioners in about 45 countries, and I've also had 5 papers that have been published in terms of improving or the therapeutic effect of breathing exercises for sleep, both in children and in adults. So that's my background. Originally, I was trained by Dr. Konstantin Buteyko. He was a Russian scientist who, back in the 1950s, he developed the breathing method, which is looking at the importance of nose breathing and breathing lightly. And of course, if you breathe through your nose and if you breathe light during your sleep, your snoring, and also the risk of obstructive sleep apnea dramatically reduces.
So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about the percentage of the population in our area that actually has trouble breathing through their nose here on the island.
Generally, it's 30 to 40%. You know, there's always a huge amount of, and I suppose people kind of don't really give it much attention, but a large percent of the population do have allergic rhinitis, or they have perennial rhinitis, so their nose feels stuffy. And as a result, then it causes them to mouth breathe. But how you breathe during the day is going to translate into how you breathe during your sleep. So if your nose is partially stuffy during your sleep, and if you're breathing hard during your sleep, then you're more likely to snore. So our work is really encouraging people, is encouraging the importance of nose breathing. But of course, for some individuals, when they switch from mouth to nose breathing, they feel suffocated, they feel they're not getting enough air. So with that, we use nasal dilators such as mute snoring, and these are based on a principle called the Cottle maneuver. So that's C-O-T-T-L-E. And Dr. Morris Cottle was an ear, nose and throat surgeon back in the 1970s. And he said that in order to help restore nasal patency, it's important to gently prise the nostrils apart. That makes breathing easier. So during sleep, of course, you're not going to be able to prise your nostrils apart. So we use the plastic dilators from mute snoring, and they're inserted into the nose, and they make breathing easier. And then that reduces the resistance during sleep. So there's less resistance to breathing. The individual is lighter breathing, and they're less likely to snore.
And is it one of those things that a lot of people, although they know they've got that problem, kind of put up with it because they never get round to really sorting out or just accept snoring or slight breathing difficulty as a problem they've got to put up with?
Yeah, no, I'd agree, Daniel. But the only thing is, like, people are waking up tired. I was 20 years breathing through an open mouth, and it wreaked havoc on my health. I was tired all the time. My concentration was affected. My dental health was affected. Academics, stress levels, and it contributes to that, and the papers show it does. So it is true, we always kind of get on with things. We wake up tired, but we accept that's the way we are. But it's when you notice the difference, when you start waking up alert. When I switched to nose breathing, I used nasal dilator, and I also used a paper tape on my mouth to keep my lips together at night. That was nearly 20 years ago. It was the first night that I really woke up. The next morning I woke up, and I woke up alert. And that gave me something that I'd never experienced. It was very unusual for me to wake up alert, but it was just a simple thing. As a result of that, and as a result of switching to nose breathing, it helped my asthma dramatically, because your nose, of course, is the filter. It warms, moistens, humidifies the air as it comes into the lungs. It helped my stress levels. And, I think so many people can be helped, especially the amount of people and children who are mouth breathing, both during the day and during their sleep, using simple things that are inexpensive, that have no side effects. I think it's worth giving it a go.
And, some of the things you've mentioned, some of the consequences of, not being able to breathe properly through your nose, I'm assuming.
Yes. The problem is when you breathe through an open mouth, or if you have allergic rhinitis, if your nose is stuffy, you're twice as likely to have sleep problems. And when you have sleep problems, it affects your concentration, it affects your energy levels, it can contribute to high blood pressure, to diabetes, to mental health issues, and also it puts a negative impact on relationships, because if a partner is listening to the other partner snoring, well, the partner who's snoring isn't getting a great sleep, but neither is the partner who's listening. Are they getting a good night's sleep? So I think, it's one of those things that it has quite significant negative effects, and I think it's really worth addressing.
You were talking about partners. Is it often the partner that notices someone's actually got that problem when they're sleeping, and it always seems to be sleep?
I think so. Generally, it's men that are at the receiving end of it. But, women can snore as well, and women who snore are twice as likely to develop diabetes. And, if you think about it, what is snoring but the exchange of a large volume of air through a narrowed space? So the individual is breathing too hard, and their airway is too small. So that's why, we use this approach. We use mute snoring, open up the nose, it's a nasal dilator, and we use breathing exercises on the Buteyko method to change breathing volume towards normal. Then the nose is open, and breathing is lighter, and snoring is reducing. There's less trauma on the upper airways. The mouth isn't as dry, because, again, a dry mouth, that's also can contribute to increased dental cavities and gum disease, because it's very important that we have saliva in the mouth, because saliva is an antibacterial. And the other thing about a dry mouth, oftentimes then we have a dry throat, and the throat then becomes sticky. So the upper airways then are more likely to collapse, and that can contribute to obstructive sleep apnea. So there's many benefits to it, not just for sleep, but, benefits that carry on into the day as well.
And I'm assuming it's the laying down that, makes these problems worse. That's why people suffer mostly when they're sleeping.
Yes. Their muscles relax, and also their breathing becomes harder. But that's also reflective of how you breathe during the day. So if you change your breathing during the day by using breathing exercise, to give you an example, we had 2 studies published in May of this year, in papers belong to the American Thoracic Society, looking at children's sleep. Kids who were breathing through their nose, who were practicing the exercises, they missed less days from school, and all of the sleep parameters that they studied improved. And 4 years ago, we had research published in the journal Clinical Otolaryngology, and symptoms reduced by 72% in adults at 3-month follow-up. So it is true that, yes, our breathing does get heavier during sleep, but that's reflective of how we breathe during the day. Let's change our breathing during the day. Let's change our breathing during sleep, and use a nasal dilator, and that helps.
Was there anything else you'd like to cover or get over to our listeners, or tell them something that might be of use to them that we haven't covered yet?
Sure. I think it's very useful. We have exercises, even if they wanted to try them, from YouTube. So I did a TED Talk. It's Technology, Education and Design. And I've included 2 exercises in that. So if people just Google my name, it's Patrick McKeown. I've got 2 exercises there. One is to open up the nose, and the other is to change breathing volume towards lighter levels. I have many books, and, the nasal dilators as well, they can be purchased in Boots Chemist. So the information is very accessible. There's also websites with all of the information, mutesnoring.com or buteykoclinic.com, and on our website we've put up, published research showing the difference between mouth and nose breathing. And when people start reading it, they realize that, it's just one of those things. It's so simple, but yes, it's something that we can't overlook.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to us today here at BRFM Bridge Radio on the Daniel Monday Night Community Show.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much, Daniel.